Okay, we ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Buttons up.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to scoot in. There.
thank you. All right, welcome to the July Communications Committee meeting. Guess we'll call this meeting to order here. Let's identify who's present. Darlene, would you like to go first?
Darlene McGold.
Lindsay Kuhn,
Molly Snodgrass. Karen McKisson.
Keith Campbell.
and thank you. If you are online to participate, if anybody wants to identify themselves. I see two people online.
Bob
Hey
Singer.
guys,
It's just the one.
Adam Holiday's here too. Happy
What was
belated
that?
4th.
Okay, great.
Oh, no, wait, there is a third, isn't there?
I think he's not working. His
It's not working.
microphone is not working.
Should we?
I'm gonna check that. You want to check it, Molly? I turned the volume up on the TV.
Just like my new PC doesn't have that. So I can't realize it doesn't have it. So
There we go. Switched it to, there you go. Does it need the microphone need switched or something?
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering.
Because we had that problem in the past.
Select speaker.
Speaker would be for what we're talking into. Okay. That's good.
Okay, now we're in the room, right?
Okay, yep. Okay. So now we should be able to hear if somebody chimes in. Okay.
All right, we're good. All
Is
right.
it gonna echo?
I don't think so, because I think that was just because we were.
Can you guys hear us now?
Yep.
Yes.
Hey, this is Adam Holiday. Happy belated 4th, everybody. And Bob Singer's on the line too. I could hear him on my end, but maybe you guys couldn't hear him.
Yeah, I think it was. I think the issue was on our end, so I think we got that fixed. Bob, can you say hi again or something?
Hi.
All
Hi.
right.
Awesome. Awesome job, Molly. Thank you. And welcome, Adam and Bob. All righty. So I usually organize this items from our previous meeting and then new items. And it just so happens that the items from our previous meeting kind of jumps us right into some like good business here. So we have been slowly auditing the Harlan Township website and then trying to figure out what our options are for improving it. And if you missed the last meeting's notes, where we left off was Ashley and I met with the Revise company who makes the website, and they said everything that you've pointed out in your audit would actually be really simple for you all to fix, but it seems like you need training. So they scheduled 2 training sessions for Ashley and I to zoom into and to hear, like, here's how you fix these simple things. Here's how you move pages around. And so we did one, and then the second one actually just happens to be this Friday. So Ashley and I determined that the best steps for our committee would be to come up with an official site map of the website. So if you're not familiar with that term, it simply means that we determine what we think is the official list of pages. So that we can start there, because Ashley was like, I could get started on some improvements, but we said, well, if we think a page just needs to be deleted, we don't want you to waste time on, messing around with it and trying to move it around. So maybe it just needs to be deleted, or maybe there's some things that need to be added. So that's what I thought would be a great activity for us tonight. And as the second page in our agenda, I listed every page on the website, every page. So I thought that we could go through it, and I could probably do it on that computer, maybe, so people can follow along.
I was gonna say, do you want me to share my screen or something, or do you want to share yours? I signed into the Zoom.
Why don't you share your screen,
Yeah,
Molly? That would be
okay.
faster.
Perfect.
So that we could look at the TVs, look at, if you have a computer, you can look at it, and we could literally start crossing
loud?
things out. If you can't, it's okay. I can
Oh,
just
wait,
go
oh,
up
there's
there.
share button's right there. I just overlooked it.
Zoom in, I guess.
So we can start crossing things out, and we can also make a note if we think something needs to be added. I'm more so assuming there's going to be a lot of crossing out, because it does seem like we've got like triple layers of pages sometimes when there doesn't need to be. So let's jump right into it. Okay, so starting with home is home. It's not clickable. Then we have the government tab. So that's not clickable, but underneath we have trustees, board members, public notices, trustee minutes, and FAQ. Trustees kind of explains what the trustees are, but then board members explains who the current trustees are. I think it's possible if we wanted to try to simplify things that these could be combined
I was
into
just
one.
about to say that. Can it just
page.
be combined and have the information on what a trustee does and stuff
Yes.
on the same page as here are your elected officials? I don't see why that would need to be separate. So I think that's smart.
So I'm going to cross out one of those 2 pages.
Maybe.
Yep, that's exactly what I was thinking as well. Because I think if it says trustees, you click on it and this is what you're expecting to find. So then public notices, after that is the next page. That's important. That is also on like the home page, but I think that this page needs to be pulled out because people, like Ashley links to these public notices when she puts out like the Facebook posts and stuff. So this should probably live on its own. And just to refresh your memory, at the last meeting, I said that we learned from Revise that Harlem Township has in the plan, in the website plan, that we can set up a way that residents can sign up for notifications. So if somebody was really interested in hearing about public notices, they could sign up for a notification to just hear a notification whenever somebody updates the site. Woo!
Yeah.
Thank you. So I think that would be good to leave it standalone, as everybody agrees.
Yes.
And then trustee minutes needs to stand alone as well, because it's all the agendas in the minutes. Perhaps I'll make a little note here. Maybe we could name this trustee agendas and minutes, so people see what they are. And then lastly, there's a page called FAQ in the first column that is blank. So perhaps we could cross that one out.
Yeah, I think there was good intentions of using that.
Sure.
And then we never got around to it.
Yeah, I think frequently asked questions could be good in its current form. We could probably scratch it out. Okay, we're following along. We now have the tab of fiscal office, but then we also have fiscal officer and fiscal reporting. So going through, so fiscal office has all of Lisa Herz's information on it. Fiscal officer also has her information on it. So perhaps going with our theme, we could combine these 2 pages. Combine.
Trying to like do this in annotations here, but I don't have a mouse.
That's okay. If it's helpful for you, otherwise I'm able to do it too.
Scribbles are horrible.
If it's helpful for you, otherwise I'm able to do it too.
You could put comments on it, maybe like little sticky notes.
Well, I tried doing like text box, but the text is like huge
Mm,
and I can't figure out how to make it smaller. So I abandoned that and that was just trying to, oh, that's all right. I'm doing
That's
my
okay.
best here.
yeah. So underneath the 2 fiscal office pages that could probably be combined, we have fiscal reporting, but that is really important that Lisa has a page for that because she uploads reports. So that probably needs to remain the same. Now, public records policy, that also seems very important to keep on its own. It has like fees for, requesting public records, and it has when it's been last revised. So I feel like that's probably should stand alone.
Is it obvious though with payment stuff, I guess? We
What?
talked about this last time.
Yeah, hold on, let's see. I don't know why that payment button is there because the payments
Doesn't go with the
doesn't
policy.
go with public records.
Request, yeah. Like, do we say requests and policy then requests, or is that somewhere else?
There is,
There's a new, it just started this year, I guess, pretty much,
Mhm.
where fees for zoning permits
Uh-huh.
and things like that can now be paid on, they want them paid online instead of writing checks.
okay,
That way she don't have to handle checks and have checks get lost and all that.
that's right.
So I don't know where that is in there, but I know the fees that are paid for zoning permits and for like a zoning request and all that stuff are now paid online. So
Yeah,
I don't know where that,
Like,
I haven't never looked to see where that is, but
So it looks like both the payment link on like the zoning pages to do that and the public records pay link are going to the same place. So it's probably just all one payment portal.
Right.
So that probably does need to stay. if it's all one payment portal. It looks like if you follow that fee, pay or pay now, there is one line item for public records request.
Okay, so
So that seems like that might have to stay the way it is.
it's
What
just
page are you on now?
confusing. I think it's confusing though. It
Public,
just,
We were on,
public records policy and then make payment. And it is bringing you to like a big payment portal,
Oh.
which like Keith was saying has like for zoning permits and stuff. However,
Okay.
there's also for records requests on here. So it's very likely that this is like all one big payment portal.
so do you think you can put maybe I mean, just make payment here doesn't make sense.
Probably needs to have some
Some
explanation.
Explanation of for public records requests.
Yes.
After the policy. And then you can request and make payment or something.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And submitting payment. So the note will be keep the page, but add information about making a request and needing to submit a payment.
So the policy and then the request process.
Okay. Then we have documents. So that is a record request form. So I think that all this needs combined
Yeah.
here.
I was
Because
gonna,
documents leads you to how to make a public records request, which is also on the previous page.
I'm gonna have, I think it might make more sense if you share your screen. 'Cause,
Sure.
like my annotation doesn't scroll with when I scroll the page. So
Yeah,
it's like,
no
that's not
problem.
very helpful. And so I think maybe you need to sign in and with no audio though.
Okay.
And then you could share your screen because then I think people could follow along better.
Do you feel like we should have our own applications and forms, just period, like section instead? I mean. I'm looking at.
Here.
No video and no audio. Yeah, but
Hmm. Okay.
Oh, it's Lindsay.
Just me.
Genoa has like a services type of things where you can do the records request, all that kind of stuff. Thought we talked about this last time, but I don't remember seeing any of this stuff.
One second, I'm trying to get there.
No, sorry, yeah, go
You're
ahead.
Where's my notes? There's my notes. Okay. All right. Desktop, share? No. I can't do it.
It's not letting you
It's gonna
share.
kick me out.
Oh,
It's gonna.
Okay, if you
kick
just
me
keep
out.
it up there, Molly, we can.
all right. I'll share again, but I just won't be able to annotate anything.
That's okay. I'm making notes as we go.
Okay.
Thank you, Molly.
Okay.
Okay, so the previous page was public records policy with a link to pay to make a public records request. The next page directly underneath that on the website is labeled documents, and there's how to make a public records request on this page. So it says records request form. So it seems like all of that needs to be combined. It should be with the public records requests. And Darlene, what were you saying?
I think that there's definitely needs to be clarity on how to do this because you have to make the request, but say you pay for the request first.
Okay,
So there's some sort of process that's missing from just public records in general.
so you have to have paid for it first.
That's what it looks like, because it says, please submit credit card payment receipt.
Mm-hmm.
With
But-
request, but then there's no link to the request, and
Yeah.
then it goes, you have to go to the documents for it.
Do all records requests cost money or is
That's
it
what
only,
I'm,
I don't
yeah.
think,
There
I think it's,
has never been in the past a charge for records requests.
yeah, I think it's only if like you want it on like a CD or flash drive or something.
So I think
Unless
we
the
need to really
policy is
figure this
changed.
out. It says fee schedule on the bottom.
There's a
There's a fee schedule there, so
Ohio law says that you can charge for the printing of documents, whatever. Most places, if it's just a minor records request, would not charge a fee. Now, if they wanted pages and pages and pages, then I think.
Exactly.
And then you'd have to look at the fees, but if they just need 4 or 5 pages or something or whatever,
Mhm,
normally I think that they haven't charged in the past.
mhm.
But if you need a whole,
there's a fee schedule on there.
Yeah.
I guess is my point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but that's
we
interesting
need
though, like,
clarity of what this process.
because our fee schedule does say like
10 cents a copy.
10 cents per email record, which just seems like.
Oh,
Let's go.
Fire department. Fire department.
I think that's,
But like, is this a policy that's been
I
recently?
think you
reviewed
have
and
to, you have to have a policy in your records, what
Mhm.
what you can charge,
Mhm.
but you don't mean you have to charge it.
Okay,
So in other words, if there's a record of this is what the fees are,
mhm.
but that may not apply if it's a small request. I mean,
But I think
that's
that
up to
The process is not clear on that, meaning
Yeah.
like, I would expect that I would have to charge, my credit card 10 cents if I wanted a copy of an email. So it's what is that process of that? And
Mhm.
then how do we explain that to?
I don't know how,
Yeah.
I've never made a record request. I don't know how.
I mean,
it
I-
works, so.
I've never been charged for records request.
Neither have I, but then when I look at this, it almost sounds like,
This is new.
yeah, I don't remember seeing this before. And is this something that the trustees approved, or where did this come from? Maybe we need to find out, like,
Right.
if this is legit, what our policy and what our fees are, because it seems a
Doesn't
little,
sound,
it also seems a little excessive.
Yeah.
So,
That's definitely something we need clarity on. And then I think just in terms of moving pages around,
I agree with
the
you.
Yeah.
records request form should probably be with the records request page and not living elsewhere on
Yeah.
the site, all
Yeah.
of it together. Well, you land on a page called public records request, you should be able to read the process, fill out the form
Mhm.
and make a payment
yes.
instead of going to 3 different pages, which you currently have 3 different pages.
Yes, that 100% makes
Yeah.
sense. There should be the policy, the form, and the payment method of assuming the one is required all in one
Is
spot.
there a reason we don't have a web form? Does it have to be that
I
PDF?
was gonna suggest
Mm.
that. Maybe that's like something we could suggest is, I know Big Walnut Local School District
all have
implemented
it,
like
yeah.
there's like a Google form that you fill out and
There's like just a regular,
are you looking at Genoa's?
yeah, I'm just saying that Genoa.
And it's like a regular
Like
web
for
form.
Dublin's the same way. It's just like a web form.
Okay. I'll put a note in there that we wonder if you can
You
do a
can ask
web
them.
form for a records request.
Okay, great. Maybe that's a question for them on Friday.
Okay, Molly, so now we're moving on to Resource Center, which is another page under the fiscal office.
Okay.
So Resource Center, are you following, would you mind sharing your screen of the website?
Oh, yeah.
That way people can see where we're at. So if we're under government, fiscal office, now we're on Resource Center. So this is Delaware County information. However, there is a whole Delaware County page elsewhere on this website.
What is this? Fact or fiction?
This is,
Do I remember this?
this was something that was put out right around the time that those reappraisals hit,
Yeah.
where
Uh-huh.
the costs went like through the roof. And it was an explainer put out by the Delaware County. I remember this. I remember seeing this. But I don't know that it's like very relevant
Yeah.
anymore.
To
first of all.
to the fiscal office page.
Right.
And also it's 2 years old at this point. And if people are really, I'm sure this information is still available on like the Delaware County Auditor's site somewhere. Like, I don't know that.
Like
it
this
needs to
should have
be-
been like current news or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like public notice or what, not public notice, but
So move the resource center links to possibly the news page, the news section.
I don't even.
But I don't think it's,
I
I
don't
mean, it's
think
2
Oh.
years old at
rid of
this
it.
point.
Yeah.
I think
So-
we just,
You get you
Yeah.
access.
I think we get rid of
Remove
this
it.
fact or fiction link and
Okay.
we don't really need the page at all. Because the only other thing it links to is the Delaware County Auditor. And if we really need to, we can put that under like the
Yep.
community.
There's already a, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, there's already a link there?
Mhm,
Then I
mhm.
think
Delaware
you get rid
County.
of the resource center.
Then yeah,
That makes
I would just say
sense.
that page is kind of just, there's not much on it and it's outdated. So.
Okay. So far, we've deleted 4 pages. We've
Consolidated.
identified 4, we've not deleted anything for the record. We've
Right.
identified 4 pages that could be consolidated. Okay, so now we're moving on to the administrative office section.
Okay.
So the administrative office page currently has Ashley's information and needs a biography, but we're talking about what pages need to be added or deleted. So seems like this page should probably exist. People need to know this is the administrative office's phone number and this is the administrative assistant. So that should probably continue. Underneath administrative office is then human resources. And then also job openings and employee directory. I'm curious if Ashley believes that the human resources page needs to exist because it doesn't give any information. It just says that the administrative assistant handles
Yes.
human resources.
Yeah, I would say that could just be put, that's one sentence can just
Yep.
be put on the administrative office page.
Right,
Mhm.
but does she handle all that?
Probably like getting the applications
Right.
emailed into like the inbox or
So that's a
something.
little misleading too, though.
I think she gathers the information to send to the trustees.
Right,
Mhm.
yeah, that would be like a township administrator, not an assistant.
Job openings, though, would be important to have when we have them. And then employee directory is important to have as well, but does need to be updated. So I need to put a asterisk next to it. Employee directory. It's got some old information on it.
Yeah.
Also, weirdly, when you hover over employment opportunities, it goes to a link called public records.
Yeah, I just noticed that too.
Like
There's
if
some
I
weird,
click on this, it's
Mhm.
called public records up here, even though the page is actually employment opportunities. So
I think
like-
we talked about that last time, just looking at all the different addresses.
that's like a weird like metadata thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very likely that maybe
Someone copied a
copied a
page,
page
but
and
then
pasted it. Yeah.
change the.
Mhm.
Alright,
I'm
so that
making
would- that
an
would-
asterisk next to it.
Maybe
too.
just to check as you're redoing in the pages or moving things around that the top of you can do that. They should teach you how to do that. You literally right click and then fix it.
Right.
Fix with the thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep,
exactly.
There's also a place where you can make it so that like instead of the tab just saying "Welcome to Harlem Township" all the time,
Yeah, the title
it
tag.
actually
Yeah.
the title yeah.
Yeah. That will be important because that's how when people Google us and they see
Yeah,
that.
perfect. Okay. All right, cool.
So employment opportunities got a bad URL, but the page needs to exist.
Yeah.
Employee directory, the content needs updated, but the page should exist.
Yes.
But the page of human resources doesn't really have much of any information, so we're suggesting that that could be removed.
Yes.
Yes.
I also think it's a little weird that the employee directory page doesn't have that menu on the left. Like all
Yeah,
the
to go
others.
back. The one over here.
Yeah, I'm like,
Yeah, like it doesn't have the related pages menu.
it needs the related pages.
Right here.
Yeah, like all the other pages do.
Yeah. So when you
That
go
was a
to
good
Mhm.
yeah, it weirdly just everything like there's no left menu and it just makes it look inconsistent.
Yeah, that's a good call out.
I think that's one of
We
the
still don't have Mike's last name on this, by the way.
Mike Cannon.
Mhm.
He's there here.
No.
Oh, in his bio.
Yeah. Just says
Oh.
Mike.
Okay, then the last column then is boards, bless you, boards, committee, and commissions, which then links to all the individual ones.
Except
Now,
for us.
I know that's true. So it does need to be updated. The question is, does this page need to exist? Because it doesn't really have information. However, I would argue that it makes sense that there's some sort of like starter page.
Yeah.
Like perhaps like that boards, committees, and commissions page should be like the starter page linking out to, our committee,
Mhm.
the zoning committee, BZA.
Committee.
Yeah, the parks, exactly. So this page should probably stay, but the content should be updated.
Yeah, we can add a little bit of
Yeah.
what was she showing?
There is a communications committee page.
Just not linked here.
Yeah.
Maybe there could be just some text added to here explaining like basically that these are all
Yeah.
I guess the zoning commission, some of them have a small stipend, but like that whole plug on the homepage or in the public notices about like volunteer opportunities, maybe that could be kind of like repeated in the
Yeah.
text here.
So this page definitely needs information on it. It needs to make sure that all the committees are on it and some sort of introduction to all the boards, committees, and commissions, but the page does need to stay for sure. Okay. Then naturally we start linking to the different ones. So currently we only have under here Board of Zoning Appeals, which this is obviously a very important page. It's got all of the BZA's links to things like making a payment for any paperwork, applications, current zoning map and zoning resolution. That's all, I think, very relevant. So good job, BZA page.
Well, I think I have found in the past, if you go to like the zoning commission,
Mhm.
there's no link to the zoning resolution.
So
Mention that.
it's good that you mentioned that because that's our next page. So under committees and commissions, there's zoning commission. It doesn't have all that great information that the BZA has.
Yeah.
So it probably should.
I think each of those boards should have a link to the zoning resolution because that's what they work off of, that's.
So the zoning commission is directly under BZA and it needs to have all those same important zoning links, the current zoning map, the zoning resolutions. It's missing that content that's really good on the BZA page.
What about zoning violations? Do you guys publish that? Does anyone ever publish that?
I don't think it's I don't, not really.
Good to know. Okay, Parks Committee is underneath the zoning commission. It's a small page that has who the members are. It has a link to a whole page about the park itself. So here's a question. Do we have a Parks Committee, but I didn't think we had a Parks Department. Is that correct?
I don't know how
I mean,
Technically, that's correct. We have a maintenance department that assists in maintaining the park.
that's kind of what I was about to say. I think it's the maintenance department does maintenance activity for the park, but there's no like park department.
So
We're not-
right,
not big enough for that yet.
so right now we have two pages. We have a Parks Committee page and a Parks Department page. They both have similar information on them, but if it is not accurate to call it a Parks Department, perhaps Parks Department needs to be deleted and all that information should move to Parks Committee.
Yeah, probably, yes.
Yeah, yes, that's a great idea.
Add
kind of like
information.
Parks Department is kind of like a major headline and the committee's a subset of that. I don't know how that works.
Especially if we don't actually technically have a Parks Department.
Yeah, it's another one of those things where this Parks Committee page lives under departments, park department, park committee,
Mhm.
instead of living under home, government, boards, committees, commissions.
Right. So it is a
it's-
little misleading to think that there's some sort of Parks Department that controls the Parks Committee.
Is there a reason why we have government and departments? Like, shouldn't it be government and then boards, committees, commissions or something, or?
That is one of the next points of,
Sorry.
you're
Just
fine,
jumping ahead.
because you're right, because
I
So-
didn't read it yet.
no, you're totally fine. You're totally fine. So finishing out the committees section, we have our communications committee, which I feel like has plenty of information on it. It's like, this is when the committee meets, here's a Zoom link, solid.
It's perfect.
It exists, it's great.
We just need to make sure like that Zoom link is correct, and if
Mhm.
it ever gets updated or changed for whatever reason, like we don't want this to be outdated.
It just
Certainly.
worked- Just worked for me tonight.
Okay.
Great.
Good test.
Good test.
We also probably need to be a little 5, 6. We don't have a
The Zoom meetings need to be, or that just
Or the
needs to be removed. Cause they exist elsewhere.
okay.
So
It's like
Zoom,
we either need to be good about updating this or we remove it. Because
Updated.
I don't think we should have a like information here that's not kept up to date and shows that we're like a year behind.
right. Okay, then finally, under this government tab, we have comprehensive master plan. That to me seems quite important to have just available, visible. I don't see why we would want to change this unless, and perhaps Adam, if you wanted to chime in, now we're going to move on to a whole economic development and zoning area of the site. If we think that comprehensive master plan is less a government document and more of a zoning and economic development document, we could move this page.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll probably turn into that. Also, I think, here in the near future, it's going to be maybe not replaced, but supplemented by the strategic plan that we've been
Mhm.
working on this year. So, I think to your point, I mean, it's not so much of a governmental document as it is our economic and strategic, zoning direction. So I think that's open for conversation.
Awesome. Okay, I'm making a note that is what we're questioning then.
I think that's perfect.
So if I'm hearing you right, you're saying you're thinking that this link to the comprehensive master plan would live better under our zoning and development department
Yes,
as opposed to under government.
as opposed to under government.
Yeah.
And Adam is saying that even maybe one day that comprehensive master plan is going to be updated with all the new work they're doing. So they might even end up being outdated in the first place. Yeah.
And you can almost have two different places for that to lie, right? Like if there's some sort of collection page, a homepage that just talks about the township, it could
Mhm.
reference, here's our guiding principles, here's the documentation that, directs us as we continue to grow, and, have a couple of places where that lives.
Yeah, we could certainly link
That's a
to
good
it
point.
from multiple places, but it should we should make sure it's all linking to the same page
Yes.
Right.
or same document.
We don't want to bury something as important as that. We want it to be readily available, which is probably the thought behind why it is kind of floating out there
Right.
Mhm.
under the government tab. It's readily available. You can get to it quickly.
So I would think similar to that. Comprehensive plan should also be under the zoning commission, the BCA, and possibly the trustees.
Mm-hmm.
So that way you have a link to each one of these departments. So if you're in that department, you could find that document.
Good point, because you're probably trying to reference it frequently. Okay, I'm gonna pause this for just a minute because we just went through a large chunk. The government section of the website. It was a large chunk. We have I'm gonna 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages that we could possibly recommend removing. That's some good trimming. And many that we've identified as should be combined or content needs to be updated. Like, for example, Parks and Parks Department have the same information on them. They should be combined. Parks Committee, Parks Department. Okay, does anybody have anything else before we move on to departments in our larger discussion? You're fine. So under departments, we now have fire, maintenance, parks, which we just said is more of the committee because the maintenance works with the Parks Department to take care of the park. And then we have zoning.
Pause for a second, real
Yeah.
quick. On your notes here, for each of these, you say government tab, no click.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean?
Meaning that like this is not the top where it says home, government, departments, community. How do you're just hovering. There's no page there.
But I think there is. I just clicked on government
Oh,
and it takes me to government/index.
oh no, there's a
And
whole
there's like a township overview and
Oh,
all this
wow.
stuff here.
oh wow.
This is just like Genoa's.
There's a whole page. What information does it have on it? Okay.
And I wonder if I click on departments, it takes me to departments/index and it doesn't have as much, but it still lists like stuff.
right.
Like you can click on it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether people do is up for debate, but I think each of these have like an index landing
Mhm.
page.
If it has an index landing page, it should stick with that menu then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I kind of feel like
Because when you go to government, it takes you.
I kind of feel like it would hide some of the information here if you are required to click on it to get to it. Because I think I think a lot of people would assume that this is like you hover over it and you pick what you need.
There's no click.
But if you like your people are less likely to click on it and go to this index page and like find all this stuff.
So let's talk about the content on the secret government page.
Secret.
The secret hidden government. it explains what a township is. It explains like what are township roads, what is township police protection, like how we're served by the Delaware County Sheriff's Department. So all this is really good information. It explains how zoning works in a township, cemeteries.
They literally just copied off of Genoa, whoever did this.
That's funny.
Oh, is it the
Exact-
same?
Well, I think Revise probably did Genoa's website too.
Yeah.
So I mean, maybe there was some borrowing involved.
Okay, so is this information important enough that it should probably exist somewhere that's a little more visible?
Maybe it should just be under like, maybe there should be an about townships page.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about,
Townships.
about us, yeah.
Not even really about us, because this is
I
not
meant the
specific-
township,
Yeah,
but
I was
that's
just
what I
saying,
meant.
like, I think like just an about townships
Okay,
page,
About township government,
yeah, or something.
like, how the government explains how the township form of government works.
okay. That's my fault. I did not think that was clickable.
I mean, I think most people would
I never
feel
been
the
there.
same, but I was just curious, and I was like, no click. Let me see. Let me make sure.
It does click.
All right, so the government index page, that information can be moved to like a about townships page.
Mhm, sure. Yeah, about townships. That's okay. Departments, then clicking on departments, it's just like a landing page with a list of the different departments and who's responsible and their phone number. That seems important.
I mean, yeah, but don't we have that elsewhere?
We have an employee directory. It is not, well, yeah, it is, the employee directory actually has what they're responsible for. So this is very similar, yes. To your point, this is very similar.
So
I
do you
would just-
think- oh, go ahead.
I would just hate to have pages where you have to make sure that the same information is
Updated more
when
than
things- Yeah,
once.
when things change. Not that they change very often, but
If you click on the departments page, maybe you have a link to the trustees, maybe you have a link to fiscal here. I don't know, otherwise I'm not sure you even need a landing page, but if everything else is clickable, then you should probably make it the same. Unless you're thinking about getting rid of the click.
Yeah. Okay, I'm making a note that this page does seem to have redundant information, doesn't need to be clickable.
I was gonna say, and same thing with the government. Can
Can we just not click it?
you make it unclickable so that there is no like index page?
Mhm.
That's a question for how the website setup works.
Right.
I think that would be less confusing.
Yeah, I think so too. Like if it's possible to have these just be headers that are not clickable and don't take you to a landing page.
Because then it's truly like a one-click site.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for something, it's not multiple clicks.
You don't have to go deep in to
Right.
find something. Well, that was fun. We've learned something new today. These all have clicked. Okay, so under departments, fire, maintenance, parks, and zoning. I think it seems easiest to start with parks because we did determine that there isn't technically a parks
Yep.
department. And underneath parks department, there is the same link back to the committee. And then it looks like a little write-up. Hi there. Welcome in. Are you here for the communications?
At the time, I'll tell you what's going on in Center Village.
Oh, are you here for the communications committee meeting?
I want this to get around to people. People broke into my house. Took all the stuff from my wife and the daughters. They were now, since the last 3 weeks or 2 weeks, they're breaking into my garage, taking tools. So that's not Center Village. It's not right.
No, have you contacted the sheriff?
Somebody needs to start watching. You need to start locking your stuff up. Because this is terrible. I mean, we got stuff we had for 30 years gone.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's terrible. I would just recommend you contact
Pardon?
the Delaware County Sheriff is who would handle that in Harlem
Yeah,
Township.
they
Have you
came-
contacted
they
them?
came.
Okay.
We took, he made all the notes and stuff. And, now we did have, carpet beetles. So I had people come in and spraying.
Mhm.
There is a problem there, because they go through your whole house, look at everything. So what happened, I had a safe. And I moved the safe from the bedroom into another room and usually once a year, I clean this safe up. So I go to open it up, it's empty. So all kind of personal information, uh, all our credit cards and all that stuff's in there.
Yeah,
Well, thanks for coming in and telling us that. We definitely recommend you call the sheriff if you haven't already.
Oh, yeah, the sheriff, I called the sheriff same day, and they were there. It was, and they took all the notes, took pictures and everything.
well, maybe what we can do is if this seems to be a pattern or if it's something we want to put out an alert on,
Yeah.
you can talk with one of the trustees, Lindsay.
Yeah, so this is the communications committee. So what we can do is if there seems to be a lot of reports of break-ins, maybe we can talk to the trustees about putting out a notice to residents or something.
Yeah, and I just wanted, I've been here several times and it hasn't anybody, so.
Okay.
I'm sorry to
Sure.
interrupt you, but
Yeah, thanks for telling us.
yeah.
We'll
What is-
keep an
what is
eye
your
out.
name?
Yeah.
What is your
Yeah,
name?
good question. Yeah, good point.
What's your name?
Mhm.
Your name,
Jim Hagler.
Jim Agler. Okay.
Yeah,
Thanks, Jim.
And you live on Center Village.
yeah, so, keep your eyes open for your stuff. Now, I'm
Okay.
surprised they're all at once now they're getting in my garage.
Yeah.
And I had a machine shop. So I have tools in there that are very expensive. And some of those are gone. I got one thing was that cost $1,000. It's gone.
Well, I'm sorry
Yeah,
I'm
that's
sorry you're going
terrible.
through this. That's
That's terrible.
It is. I don't know. And Center Village,
Mhm.
yeah, I know you wouldn't think.
I was born 2 miles from where I live, down Center Village Road.
Mhm.
Because
And
not in the police
we
department.
moved to
We
Harlem
could
Township.
put a
I moved to
last verse.
Harlem
Yeah.
Road
There's
when I
been some
was 8 years old.
theft reported.
I
on,
stayed there
you know,
till-
Too much information, but.
Yeah.
And not
So
completely aware.
Well, we'll keep our eyes and ears out if anybody else has any reports, okay? And maybe if there seems to be a lot of reports, we could
Yeah.
alert the township with some sort of email blast. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you.
thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. I got that wrote down. All right, where were we? Departments?
Yeah, Parks Department.
Parks Department. Okay, so this page for the Parks Department is actually really nice and have those great photos and everything. But then let me click on Parks Committee to see if it's the same. So the Parks Committee goes back to that same page that just has who's the committee members. So we've already made a note. Perhaps these two things should be combined.
Yeah.
Because we need to
Yes.
know who is overseeing all these efforts in the park, who is responsible for all these, pictures and events and everything. But then under departments, we also have a page for the park. So this also has great pictures. So it kind of seems like there could be a three-way combining.
Yeah, I was gonna say
That's
3
perfect,
pages in
yeah.
one would make a lot of sense here because
Yes.
you don't need 3 separate pages for basically one park.
Yes. Consider combining these pages, making a note here, like a three-way combine.
And down the road, should Harlem Township ever establish another park?
Yes,
that
that's
could
a
be
great
that
point.
could be revisited, but
Because then there could be pages per park.
yeah.
It's a great point. Maybe one day. Alrighty, then. Okay, we accidentally skipped over the fire department. I think obviously everything under fire department is very important. So I'm not really going to recommend that we delete anything under fire department. Looks like we go with a description of the fire department on the first page, then a bio of the fire chief and the assistant fire chief.
What does apparatus mean?
I think it
That's like the
means
trucks and stuff.
yes, but actually it looks like the apparatus page doesn't
Blank.
have information on it. I think it's pretty normal for, you know, featuring the trucks and
Yeah,
things.
definitely.
So we should, I'm gonna make a note.
Can that be under equipment though? Like, can we?
Yeah.
combine that?
Uh-huh,
Combine those.
that's true. So maybe combine this
Yeah, it looks like
page
they do.
with equipment and remove one of them.
That's that.
Yeah,
that-
that's
that is
there.
What's on that page there?
Yep.
Is it the same thing? Okay.
Yeah.
Apparatus might be like the jaws of life and the things they
Mhm.
use, but again, I think
So
I think
departments.
I think it can all be under equipment
Equipment,
and
yes.
not two separate ones.
I agree.
Yes. Okay.
The other thing is like, so when you click on, oh, okay. Oh, sorry, we already discussed this, keeping all this information on the department landing page.
Yes.
Okay. I missed that.
You already,
You're
you
fine.
already foiled that plan.
Aha.
All right.
Okay, then we have, I'm going down this line because we accidentally skipped a column. We have maintenance department with their own page. But this, I feel like should exist. Like, I don't want to delete the page, but the content on it is only the current upcoming Delaware County road construction schedule. So I feel like it should probably be a description of what the maintenance department does with Jason's information on it. It needs to
Mhm.
resemble the fire department page.
yes,
all the time.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
would
So I don't
agree.
think it needs to be deleted.
It's like,
Agree.
there's this one part at the bottom that says, for information, contact the maintenance supervisor at this number, but like, it's not,
Yes.
yeah. I think it could be improved.
Yep.
I think, do you guys have, what I would love to see on this is what roads we're responsible for,
Mm-hmm.
like differentiating.
I think that's buried somewhere.
Okay, maybe we should move. it.
But if I remember right,
Yep.
Every,
I feel like I've seen it
Every sign-
before, but
It's buried there.
Okay, maintenance and roads.
every
Okay.
street sign up there it says either township road or county road,
Yeah.
except for 605.
That would be good. I'm sure that's what people might be, you know, the most interested in, you know? And then
Why
we
isn't
could
my
start,
street plowed. Well, it's because it's not our responsibility. Or,
Right,
like,
you
there's-
live on a
there's
county
different
road.
Maintenance.
If it says Delaware
agreements.
County on this, underneath the street name, and then that's the county's responsibility.
Sometimes they have agreements though,
Yeah.
so like the township could help the county.
here it
know.
is.
Mhm.
Oh, where'd you find that?
It's under the find more info. If you like, there's only a page, there's a header called find more info. And if you scroll down on that, there's a section, who's plowing my road?
That's perfect.
Okay.
Like that stuff should go like in.
It
It
talks
make
about that.
maintenance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that should be there, not someplace else.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like
Where is
it's
that?
it's on the find more info
Where's the
page
find more info page?
under how do
How
I.
do I? Mm-hmm.
How do I find more info?
Yeah.
That doesn't
But
make sense.
Yeah, I think like all these links are good. All the links to like Delaware County, Big Walnut Schools, you know, like Farm Bureau, whatever. But like who's plowing my road? I feel like that would make more sense under
Yep.
maintenance
Under
department.
maintenance. Yeah, totally.
That information could go there.
Yeah.
Okay. I am underlining and starring that because that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking, the plow and the maintenance piece.
And
I
then
think
maybe
I
there
did the
could be a
same.
link to the 2025 Delaware County Construction Road Guide. Like this information
Yeah.
is certainly important.
Well, it's nice to just highlight it quickly so you can see it.
Mhm. Which is what is currently on this page.
Yep. That's really great information.
Okay. So we went backwards. Now we're finishing out.
It's all my fault.
No, you're fine. Okay, so zoning department. We kind of already talked about this in our very first meeting where we were auditing everything. We thought that with everything going on with the different meetings and then how there's going to be all these planning documents, that economic development should probably get pulled out as its own orange section with all this information listed underneath. This is a note that we've already made. Do we still concur this?
Yes.
Because right now it's, if you click on it, it's just like resources and things, which is great. We want that. But I think with all of the changes happening and everything going on, this is probably going to be a page that's referenced more and more and more.
I agree.
So where the, you know, fire department is orange and as a heading and maintenance, probably next to zoning department, economic development could very well be its own pulled out thing. And then that way now zoning department is streamlined and it's most everything to do with zoning.
It's perfect.
SPC archive, would you think that's under economic development
Yeah,
or zoning?
I would fit that more under economic development.
Well, yeah.
Even though a lot of the work that they did was zoning related with the overlays, but I could see it either way, but it, or yeah, I don't know.
and move SPC archive under here. Okay.
Or if we ever have yeah,
Certainly don't want any of the information on the economic development page to go away, but it seems like there's going to be way more to add to it in the future.
Right.
and a lot of this actually came from the strategic planning committee page.
Okay.
When I used to maintain the website for strategic planning committee.
Okay.
So all of the information that was on the SPC page was stuff that I added and was keeping up to date. That was one of the major contributions that I had to that
Yeah,
committee,
yeah.
actually, because I'm no zoning expert. But anyway, so when that committee disbanded, what I did was I took all of the stuff that was specific to like the committee meetings and stuff
Mhm.
and put that on the SPC archive page. So the members, the subcommittees, and the minutes. So all of that I moved to this like archive page. But anything that was still kind of like relevant,
Mhm.
I put onto this economic development page.
Okay.
So the files and links, resources, maps, and FAQ, those were all things that used to be on the SPC page, but I basically pulled it from that page and put it onto this new page instead, because it's all kind of like just reference information.
quick
and
links.
it's still relevant.
Yeah.
So, and some of this is outdated at this point, even.
Okay. Possibly needs
so-
to be cleaned up.
Yeah, so we probably need to clean this up because a lot of it is like, updates from February of 23, update from December of whatever. So if you actually like look through this page, there's a ton of information
Yeah.
here. Because that's basically what I took on as my pet project was like, hey, when we had this strategic planning committee, like I was taking a lot of the stuff we were discussing and putting it on the website.
Yes.
Now, how many people were checking that?
Right.
Especially
if it wasn't like super.
Yeah, and that
visible.
was kind of before we had the email program that we have now, so we weren't
Right.
sending like regular
Sending it
updates about
out.
it. I feel like every time I would send something out, or we would be like, check the website, there's a ton of information there.
Right.
But yeah, this page probably could use just a review
Yeah.
to see what's on here that's relevant enough to still keep, what can we trim down. Like, I put little like bold text where there was like updates on a
Mhm.
given date, but like, do we need all of those updates anymore, or do we want to like kind of really
Yeah. It almost.
trim this?
So it almost seems like economic development could be an orange header with, an introduction on the page. And then there should be stuff underneath of it that's like, the master plan and all these new documents that'll be coming out this summer. Like we need to start listing that stuff underneath of it. And then, maybe we could ask the trustees what they would like in terms of like the sewer trunk information. Like, should that be its own page people can get to quickly? But all that probably should be, because right now it's just like a long scroll where you
Mhm.
find the latest information. So if we broke it out into chunks underneath the heading of economic development, you could get to things quicker.
Yeah.
And people can subscribe to the specific page that they're interested in.
Yeah. And the reason why all this is on one page was
Mhm.
because I only had access to edit one
To the
page.
one page.
I
Yeah.
only had access to edit the SPC page. I couldn't create new pages. I
Mhm.
couldn't so all this information I basically just put on one big long page and just kept adding and
Yeah. So it might be good opportunity to break this out now.
Yeah.
That we have a lot more economic development information to share too. We could share all of the information gathered from the public meetings and it'd all be under one headline.
Sounds great.
Okay, zoning department, you click on it and it does seem pretty important. It has a quick link to all the important zoning documents that you need. Underneath that though is a whole page for Director of Zoning and Development. Now in all the other sections, we've been combining these. We've been putting.
I would say let's be consistent.
You're right.
Okay. Combine this with zoning department. We've been combining them. because right now the zoning department page doesn't really have a ton of information on it.
It's got a link to the payment thing.
And then
And
all
then the
those
document center.
documents. Okay, I personally think that it makes sense that we're repeating the BZA and the commission and the minutes under here. I know that it's not
As long as
They're
it's, as
committees.
long as it's linking to the same page.
correct, yes.
Because we like discovered that before, where it's like, it's called the same thing, but it's like linking to something totally different.
Right.
So
So
make
I
sure
think
these
this,
are linked.
this one looks like it's linking to the same one as here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would be confusing if they weren't linking to the same page.
Actually, is it? Board of Zoning Appeals, BZA, that links to departments zoning. But if you click here. Okay, it does.
Yeah.
All right, so that one does link to the same one. Then zoning commission links to department zoning commission,
Mm-hmm.
and it does here as well. This might have been something we already cleaned up.
Could have been.
Okay, good.
Okay, so both of those do link to the same one as the government.
Maybe just have Ashley verify that.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why. I know that it's redundant, but it's good to have redundancy so people, depending on which direction they came in,
Yeah.
can link to the same page.
I think to Molly's point, as long as it's the same.
Same
Yeah,
landing page,
right.
not. Yeah, I do think that's something we'd already taken care of. What was I gonna say? I had a thought and it escaped me.
Just gave you. If you think about it,
Oh, I think it was just, should the document center be its like own page?
it currently is its own page.
It is.
So permit applications is a page. Oh, wait, just kidding. The permit applications page just explains how they work, but it doesn't actually link to any of the documents. So I feel like all that document information should probably go to this permit applications
yeah.
page.
I think we talked about that last time.
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
Okay.
Move document information to the permit applications page. Because you want to have the instructions with the
Yeah.
actual links.
Yep, I think that's good.
So that will move to permits applications, but then director of zoning will move to zoning department and it'll all be cleaned up.
Perfect. Yeah, this really needs to be clear what this is. It just says make payment here, zoning permit application. And I would ask if you could do all this with a web, well, maybe not the zoning permit.
Is a web form possible? Are web forms possible?
I don't know, all the documents do, yeah, when you click on the permit. So if you click on zoning permit application, it literally leads you to all of this,
Right, to all of,
right?
yep. Because there's several different types of documents you can have.
Okay, some sort of workflow I think would be nice here too.
Yeah, I think very similar to the fiscal part.
Yes, yes.
We need to have
Yes.
instructions plus payment plus forms all together.
Yes, I
Perfect.
would agree.
Yeah, because it's just.
Mhm.
The only thing to note here is under the documents, though, most of it is like forms and stuff, but it also links to the resolution, the map,
Right.
comprehensive master plan,
Mm-hmm,
the quick strategy guide,
yes.
and the Delaware County Regional Planning website. So
Which
like,
are kind of more economic development stuff. So if we had something dedicated to that, we could pull them out.
yeah, I wonder if we almost need either two document centers, like one where it's like literally just permits and applications type of stuff.
Mhm.
I think it's very confusing, almost like resources like for that. So it's like, here's the actual permit and what you have to fill out, but here are resources to help you with that. That's obviously not the header you want
Right.
to put in there.
Because it's
but you
like
get
they
the
kind of
idea.
put like all these zoning related documents in one document center, which is like kind of good and kind of bad because it's almost like you might want one list of documents where everything is like forms that you might be filling out
Right.
and a separate place where like reference files are.
So Louis
That's
was
what you were
telling,
saying.
yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
okay.
So he was saying,
thing?
yeah, I think we're thinking the same thing.
Okay.
He said he just put together, this came about, I think last night, almost like a checklist of things, a new form. So you may want to ask, you may want to ask my husband, I'll ask
Okay.
it for you, to see if there's a better, way to structure this meeting, like based on what he went line by line saying like kind of a checklist of what you need to do to submit.
Okay,
So I think I'm gonna just. send
that
you
would be
that.
good information.
Because that may help you structure the website, like you're talking about, kind of you have resource documents, but then you have, what does the actual permit look like, right? And what is the guidelines to put together this permit so you come prepared?
Right.
And I wonder if like, so this like document page, it has like a search bar where you could search for a particular document, and then it's got this like thing that drops down. Can you have more than one drop down? Like, are you able to create like folders and different documents live in like
Yeah.
folders all under
Yeah, like
Like-
a permit,
Mhm.
permit application material.
Different headings.
because isn't
It's called like an accordion. So each little
Yeah.
each little
like, 'cause
accordion
look,
thing.
she has different ones here.
Yeah.
She has audit reporting, annual financial
That'd be good.
reports,
Yeah, that'd be
monthly financial
easier.
reports. And look, it's nice and tiered.
It's
Like,
very nice.
Yeah. So see fiscal officer
yeah,
page
so
for
reference,
example.
reference. So I think that's what can be done on for the zoning documents
Perfect,
is
yeah.
like break it out into like forms and applications,
Yes.
reference documents. I mean, at least those two.
So it's all under one area.
Yeah, so it's you could also have all of it under one document center area, but like structure it more like the way the fiscal one is, where
Yeah.
it's
More organized like that.
tiered.
That's great. We know that it can happen.
It looks really, that looks really
Yeah, the
nice.
fiscal one was I haven't really been to that page in a while. Like the way she's got it all like done by month and year.
Okay. I just made a note
To
to
ask
get
about
that
it.
document. I think it might have to be approved, but at least you can kind of see maybe how to structure the website, like with headers and things like that.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you. Okay, I will call us like halfway done because there's like 4 main sections. However, I do think it might be good to stop here
Okay.
because it's my experience that no matter all these plans that we make, if we went through all of it and made all these grand plans, we're likely not, like, things are gonna have to change. So why don't we take this chunk by chunk? So we've done the first 2 huge sections, which is the government and departments. So I can, when we complete this training and I sit down with Ashley and say, here's what we're thinking about which pages to delete, we'll start there, see what hiccups we run into. And then once we feel like that's done, we can move on to this back half. Does that seem fair?
Yeah.
Because the back half is like more fun
Okay,
and
this is kind of the fun stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it won't be like consequential to what we're updating in the front half either. Like it
Yeah,
all lives
yeah, a
separately.
lot of it, there might be not as many crossover links between these sections and the other sections.
Right. Okay, well, thank you for humoring me in my exercise.
That was great.
Yeah,
Super. Thanks for organizing this.
of course.
Perfect. You have to get rid of the no click.
Yeah, yes, because apparently it
There
is
is a click.
Apparently it is a click. I'll update that one I send or what we discussed.
I think we get rid of the click though. We make it no click.
Yeah, right. Okay, so jumping back to our agenda to finish it out, because that was the brunt of everything. So most everything is just a reminder, and then we'll have our email blast and social media calendar. So just a reminder, I sent out like a sign up genius link for a few farmers market states. We have new newsletters to pass out. I have mine sign up on July 16th, so I plan on doing that if it's not raining. But we do have new newsletters to pass out. So if you want to jump on that link, pick a date. If you don't like any of the dates, you want to pick your own date, that's fine with me too. I was just adding dates that seemed spaced out and but if there's 1 week of the month on there that you can do, please feel free to add it in. Then the last time we talked, the trustees had approved the $50 per month post boosting budget as a way for us to reach larger amount of our Facebook followers. When I'm meeting with Ashley on Friday, I'm going to be getting with her with my computer about how to add a payment method to the township Facebook page to do that boosting. So stay tuned for that. Then our last thing was wanted to organize efforts with the Civic Association to understand what kind of events they were doing for the upcoming election season. Thank you, Karen, for sending me Diane's phone number. I did reach out to her and I haven't heard back, but now that I have a direct contact that's not an email,
Yeah.
hopefully I'll hear back from her.
Probably will.
And then by our next meeting, we'll know, although in your email, you did mention that they probably wouldn't have plans until about August.
August or no later than September. so.
Yeah. So it's very likely that they don't have a lot of plans yet because they're
They don't know
forming them.
who's on the ballot yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So she's got my information and she's got our like intention, which is whatever you're doing, we'd like to help broadcast it through our communications channels. So hopefully by our next meeting, we'll actually have like something rolling on that.
We should at least, if nothing else, know who would be running because that deadline is August 6th.
Right. Which was in our printed newsletter. Oh, I forgot to mention that Dave Snyder emailed me. And had a really nice comment, and I just wanted to share with everybody that when they were prepping for the Duncan Run bike ride.
Yeah, he sent me this
Yeah.
same thing.
So then they were prepping for the Duncan Run bike ride. There were people out riding bikes and they were like, "Oh, are you setting up for the ride? That's what we're riding for. We're training for that." We saw it in the newsletter. So good job, everybody. Good job, everybody.
That's awesome.
Yes. Very nice of him to email it. Alrighty, so last but not least, what we have coming up this month would be our email blast on July 22nd and additional Facebook posts. So my first two thoughts for the July 22nd email blast were a thank you to the maintenance department for completing the restroom renovations. Of course, right when we sent out that newsletter. So Jason Andrewsis had written up a write-up for the maintenance department and said, we're working on this. And then that newsletter got printed and then they finished it.
I was reading the newsletter and it says that, and I was like,
Nice.
wait, did they just send an email blast that said it was done?
Yeah.
Like,
But that's great that they finished it. Yeah. So I thought we could thank them in the email and then potentially some information. Adam, if you wanted to send out any information on the trustees' discussion about home rule, we have a email coming up that could be a good opportunity for that.
hey, we have 3 people at minimum.
Nice. Now, does anybody have any other thoughts about important things that I am missing in terms of what we have going on right now? So July 22nd will be after the bike ride.
Right, and I can give you more information after that.
Maybe like a thank you, or if you guys had we had 60 people register, maybe we could send something else.
I've got a bunch right now that I haven't looked at. The last 2 days it is popping in, but we
Great.
get maybe 40 to 60 people day up, so.
So maybe you want me to write in, does HTH want to include like a little recap of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
October 7th is the candidates night for the Civic Association,
Okay.
and it's on the calendar. It's going to be held at the Grange.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you.
October 7th.
What day of the week is that?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna look at my
Let
phone.
me see, I look in the calendar quickly.
Phone's in my back pocket. I put that under our anything else. So I'll follow up with
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
October 7th,
Second or
Tuesday.
Yeah, sorry.
7th.
Yeah, the 7th is the
it's a
first
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
I may be back.
So that's something specific that if I don't hear back from Diane, I can reach out and just say, hey, this is on the calendar. Can we talk about this? Can we help you broadcast this information? And
Hey,
then,
Lindsay, can I add a couple thoughts?
yes, please.
So nothing major, but I'm going to try to go through my mental notes here real quick. So I appreciate you calling out Dave Snyder's email. I saw that too, and I thought that was great. I mean, that's the whole point, right? Is somehow being able to get out the communication, make people aware, get people involved. And I love an event like the bike ride that can kind of bring people in and bring people together and do that. And it's funny because within about 24 hours of receiving that email from Dave, I also encountered some folks that have been residents of the township for over a decade that had zero idea about the recent history of the township. I mean, going back, more than just 2 years, just totally, oblivious to it. Not necessarily in a derogatory way, but and I believe they probably are on the newsletter list. You can lead a horse to water, right?
Yeah.
And so I don't think any of us that have any kind of marketing experience expect 100% impression of a target audience. All we can do is try to get it out there. But this is one of the reasons why I think that focusing on new methodologies and new vehicles like sponsored Facebook posts is important, because we can mail out all we want to and we can pin it to the bulletin board all we want to, and some folks just aren't going to see it. So I appreciate the work that you guys are doing and continuing to think about different ways to communicate and get, people involved in what's going on in their community, because I think that we need to continue to do that, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
The only other thing that I was going to mention, and so, talking about all this site stuff, which is just tons of glamorous work, right? Just sarcasm, but the end result will definitely be glamorous. I think, the township is overdue for a website overhaul and get that modernized and get that up to speed. My question for you, and I have no opinion on this, more curiosity. I hear you say that the company that manages or so on and so forth the website says that, oh yeah, everything you want to do is super easy. We can teach you guys how to do it. However, would it make sense for them to do it, considering the amount of work that needs to get done? It might not be hard work, but it might be a good bit of it. And
Yep.
so, Lindsay, bless your heart, volunteering for this position and doing more work than most of us. Not to mention everything else that the whole committee on this call is contributing. And I know Ashley's got a lot going on too, in her role as the administrative assistant. And so I know that we have big shoulders here in Harlan Township of saying, yeah, we can get that done. But I just wonder if it might make more sense to say, we would rather you guys do that so it gets done quicker and we can continue on doing what we're focused on. And so again, I don't have a bias on that. I'm genuinely curious what your opinions are, looking at it from that point of view.
My initial reaction is I think it depends on the cost, certainly. They claimed that it would cost money to have them dedicate time to do the extent of changes that we wanted them to do. However, we think you're a great customer, they said we would be happy to do 3 hours of training and not charge you for it if you'd rather save money. So if we could ask them, how much would it cost? How much would you bill us to do all this if we were organized and gave you a good organized list? And we thought that cost was very reasonable, then heck yeah, I'd say they should do it. Absolutely.
Was there not any revision included in our contract then? Is that what
There is a revision included in the contract and it comes in year 4, which is 2026.
Okay.
And what that means is actually that we will get a whole new website.
Oh,
It's not just, hey, can you make these changes which is why they said, hey, like making these kind of changes isn't necessarily in our scope of work for you. We don't just like update your website when you ask us to. So that's why we'd like to teach you how to make just like basic page changes. However, in 2026, it is in your contract that we will then revamp your entire website.
that might be good timing because I haven't watched the latest trustee meeting, but
Correct, part of it, yeah.
if more of this stuff happens with like the, home rule or rebrand, like if we're going to be rebranding in any way,
Right.
maybe that's good timing for a complete overhaul of the website.
Absolutely.
So-
If we're going through these exercises as a township and we know that 2026 deadline is out there, then that gives us a good thing to shoot for in terms of looking into like branding exercises and, how do we want to talk about ourselves and the visuals and everything. So we've got that kind of on the horizon. But Adam, to answer your question, that is the current situation. However, if you're open to it, it's just a simple question. How much does it cost for you guys to do all this? If we gave you an organized list, we can certainly ask that.
Well, yeah, and to your point, right? I think we need to know the scope of what those revisions would be that we'd like to see right now. And as you mentioned, I mean, you've only made it through a couple of sections of that website so far. And so, I think, once you and this committee kind of have an idea of what we'd like to see, what you'd like to see, when we get to a point where a financial decision needs to be made and brought to the board, obviously, I think it makes sense to at least entertain. Yeah, they'll train us 3 hours for free, and then we can focus on all this, or we can just pay them X, and they'll have it done in X number of days. And so, I think it's just worth considering both options.
Yeah, that's great.
It's a good point. It also might be worth getting the 3 free hours of training and then
Sure.
And also paying to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
I would say maybe get the free training, because then if there's any minor stuff like 1-page update that we might need after the fact,
100%.
we wouldn't have to go back to them, but like get the free training and then say, oh, well, it turns out we don't think we have the bandwidth for this. What would you charge?
100
from there.
100%. I definitely think we should continue the last training regardless. Cause it just,
yeah.
cause Ashley was even like, oh, I didn't even know I could do that.
Oh,
So
so you already had a couple of the
we had
sessions.
one. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
what, 1.5 hours and then 1.5 hours.
Oh, okay.
So
you
the
got-
second one is on
Oh, yeah.
Friday.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
it's just over Zoom.
Okay.
So, and where they share the screen and show you how to this is how you edit a page and this is how you do.
Okay. Yeah.
So, so I completely agree. And I think this is a great plan. So we'll finish the training just so it makes everybody's lives easier and makes Ashley's life easier too. And then we could inquire. And maybe even it's just this first chunk. This is the important part, right? We're talking about the government and the departments and the permitting forms. The next part is wonderful. It's like our cemeteries and our facilities and our clubs and organizations. But even just this first part, why don't we ask them to quote it? Why don't we ask them to quote it?
Well, hey, let me just say again, I really appreciate the work that all of you guys are doing, especially even those that aren't on the meeting tonight. I don't get a chance to join these as often as I'd like to, but the effort and the impact that you guys are making is not unnoticed, especially when that letter shows up in my mailbox, even though I get to read the advanced copies. So I look forward to it every time. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam.
It's awesome. Okay, so I put those notes in our anything else. So then our last topic before we head out here is our Facebook posts for the month. So we already have a July, did you know, right before this, Darlene sent it in. So that can be so why don't we do Dunkin' Run bike ride reminder this week? Because that's imminent. But then next week, which would be July 15th, is the Did You Know? Then Molly, you have pictures to share. Yes.
I do.
Okay.
Tom sent
Of the
me like
silo
yeah,
thing?
Tom sent me like 17 emails with like 30 attachments.
Oh
I
my
don't know.
God.
Not that many, but like he sent me
There's a
a
bunch.
Yes.
he sent me multiple emails with many attachments each. He kept I assume he hit some kind of like attachment limit or size limit or
Yeah,
something.
with pictures, you can't.
And I haven't had the time to sort through
You have
them.
time.
Yeah.
But yes, I will make a point to
Okay.
go through them and get them to you.
Could we plug you in for July 22nd?
Yes. And you know what? If you don't have it to me by like 3 days before,
Mhm.
text me.
Okay. You got it. Okay, lastly, can we do one more Facebook post? Because typically we plan out 4 or 5 and then like a lot of miscellaneous things happen and we don't even need to get to use them. Or like we can use them, but later.
Sure.
So with anything else happening right now that we could post about on the Facebook page. Farmers markets, I guess.
No, on the 29th, just start reminding of the Harlem Days on August the 16th.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to remind about that multiple times.
Yeah, right. And we do have food trucks, ice cream truck. Church ladies are doing pies, so but we do have a lot of a play going on and things like that. So we'll have to get you that information.
Fantastic. Perfect. Yeah, that'll be coming up soon. So
Yeah, August 16th.
Yeah,
So
okay.
it's in a month.
I'm gonna have a busy August 16th.
It's on August.
Well, because that's I think Sunbury Sizzle and Sounds is that same day, isn't it?
I know, yeah. You can't go to that.
I'm split.
Okay.
You're banned.
Sorry.
Okay.
Find out.
She needs to get her face out there.
Yeah, she does. I know that.
So,
Okay.
has
That
anybody
completes
heard how many people are running for trustee?
So far, I just checked this actually. There are 3 people who have submitted petitions
For 3 positions.
for 3 positions. 2 people submitted petitions for the full terms, and 1 person submitted a petition for the unexpired term. So there's still almost a month where anyone else can still,
I just kind of wondered how that stood, the
Yeah.
thing when it checked.
there are currently 3 people that did submit.
That was a good call to
Makes
look
election
that up
easy.
on Delaware County's website. That made that so easy for the newsletter.
Yeah.
Just looking that up.
Yep.
Because that's all we were doing was being like, hey, here's the page you have to go to. So.
Mhm.
Okay, that is the end of the agenda. We even have extra thoughts that we have notes written down. So I guess I'm gonna adjourn this meeting. Any other comments before we do?
Great meeting.
Good job, everybody. Thank you.
Got through a lot.
We did get through a lot. Sorry if I felt like I was like going
No.
fast.
No.
Me?
Kept us on track.
Yeah. Otherwise, I feel like we could have lingered on each section for like an hour, you know? Okay. Oh, gotta get my cursor back here.
I guess I can sign out.